and welcome back to another episode of What the Forensics. My name is Rebecca, and I am joined here again today by the wonderful Nicole and Journey. This week, Nicole is going to be telling us all about the case of Sharon Kinne, which I'm really looking forward to because I have never heard of it. So I'm really excited, and I hope you are too. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we dive into the episode. If you could leave us reviews, ratings, comments, whatever the platform you're listening to us allows, we love to read them. It really helps us out. And suggestions are also very welcome. It helps us curate what we make so that you guys are the most interested in what we're doing. Also, please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you're able. This helps us grow and reach even more people so we can bring even more forensics and true crime to people like you. And then finally, please do remember that we are trying our best for research. We try to be as accurate as possible, but we are still humans and actively learning as well as we cover these topics. So sometimes we may make mistakes. So if you do catch one, please reach out to us because we love learning and we will correct it. But yeah, just keep that in mind. We're all learning here. So we hope you enjoy learning with us. There is no listener's discretions this episode, aside from the usual murder and kind of shootings. But for a true crime podcast, that's kind of, you kind of signed up for it when you clicked this podcast. So with that being said, Nicole, would you care to tell us the case of Sharon Kinne?
I would love to. So Sharon Kinne was actually born Sharon Elizabeth Hall. She was born on November 30th of 1939, and at the age of 16, she married James Kinne. This is when she took on that last name and how we now know her as Sharon Kinne. I guess 16 was kind of a common age at that time to get married, so not really that young, but a little young today standards. But before the age of 20, Sharon Kinne had 2 children with James.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
I can't imagine. We're in such a different time now. I'm like almost 25, and I'm like, oh,
the
I'm
horrors.
too young for that.
Right?
No,
It's the meme of 2 teen parents in their 30s having their first kid.
Yep. Oh man. But yeah, so 20, she's had 2 children already, and then on March 19th, 1960, her and James were living in the area of Independence, Missouri. James was 25 at the time, and he was shot in the back of the head while napping, just at home.
Oh,
Surprise, out of nowhere. Sorry, I didn't really lead into that one at all. There really isn't any lead into it. It just, he was shot.
It happened.
It happened. He was
that's
shot.
wild.
Oh no.
After the incident, after his death, Sharon then had told police when they had come and arrived to investigate, she blamed it on her 2-year-old. And she went to say that she overheard her 2-year-old ask, "How does this thing work, Daddy?" Or like something along the lines of that. Just being curious about the gun. And then next thing she heard was a gunshot. Sharon then... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, it's not the kid's fault. If you leave a gun anywhere close to a child and that child sets it off, that is your fault.
Yeah.
That is 100% your fault.
Yep. Part of responsible gun ownership is making sure that your kids cannot accidentally fire them.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So yeah, Sharon said her kid did it. She then said that she ran into the bedroom where James was napping and apparently saw her daughter holding the .22 caliber pistol. He said, she said in this instance, but that was the story that she went with. His death was then ruled accidental and no charges were laid at the time. They did believe her. They thought that she was a compelling witness, I guess. And you can't really charge a 2-year-old with murder. So they were like, well, okay, like it's an accidental death. We
freak
can't
accident.
Yeah, it's a freak accident situation. We would later find out through court testimony and other instances that she and James were apparently having marital problems, though, and that she was supposedly unfaithful to James. After,
Interesting. I
yeah.
normally it's the husband that's unfaithful in these old-timey young marriages.
No, Sharon, I think, got around. She,
She flirt with the milkman.
she had some men up her sleeve, it seemed.
All right.
Because shortly after his death, she got a decent life insurance payout, as one does, I guess, when their partner or their spouse dies. She decided to use this money and buy a new convertible, a
Oh.
little nice car to drive around in.
Go
And
off.
I guess it was like the insurance money, and she sold the family home or something like that. So she bought herself
Ah.
a car. I think I read that it was like $29,000 at the time.
Whew.
Holy.
So it seems like it was a very nice car. It just said it was a
Yeah.
convertible, but I'm pretty sure it was a very nice convertible.
Wow.
And it was in her shopping and her browsing of this new car that she met Walter Jones. He was a car salesman, and the two of them allegedly started a relationship together. And this was only a couple months after his death.
Oh.
And the only thing with this, though, I mean, I guess it would have been fine. She didn't have a husband any longer. The only thing was that Walter Jones had a pregnant wife at home that he was cheating on.
Oh.
And there it is. That's what
And
I
there
was
it
saying.
is. So, that's not great. That's not the best. Sharon did try to get Walter to end his marriage with his wife, Patricia, even going as far to tell him that she was pregnant with his baby, and he still said no, that he wasn't going to leave his wife. I'm curious what the conversations would have been like between the two of them, but
Mhm.
this didn't sit well with Sharon. But instead of going to Walter Jones about this, Sharon managed to convince Patricia in May of 1960, to meet up with her. I think she pretended to be the sister of, it was like some elaborate plot or ploy, just essentially saying, I want to meet with you to talk about some information that I have. And I think your husband's cheating, whatever. That evening, Patricia just never made it home. And so Walter was expecting her home, but Patricia never made it. And so he then reported her missing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was she still pregnant at this time?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. From my understanding, Patricia was still pregnant. Yes.
I don't know why I was expecting Sharon to be a nice lady when she's
Oh,
a serial
no.
killer. Like, I kind of assumed. I don't know why. This is. Wow.
I think there's a bit of narcissism in there. I think there's some personality traits that just never went addressed,
Mm.
and we'll see, there's a quote at the end that some of her family said after it all that I think really sums it up nicely. But she just it seemed like she only cared about herself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of see that theme progress. But yeah, so Patricia is reported missing. From my understanding, she was still pregnant with Walter's child at the time. And I think it was the day after, but sometime really soon after Patricia went missing, Sharon then volunteered to go search for Patricia, but she went with another lover of hers.
Oh.
And
Man.
so the two of them were just driving around searching for, my friend's wife, I think is what she said or described it as. They drove around, and according to the man that she was with, Sharon had suggested that they end the evening of their searching at one of the local lover lanes, because I guess that's a romantic way to end your evening after looking for a missing person. As one does.
Mhm.
And he said, sure.
Sounds great.
Let's do
That's
it.
I'm gonna get laid.
crazy.
Literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like, yeah, sure, okay. But while they were at this lover's lane, Sharon had apparently told this gentleman, okay, so I guess, let me rephrase that. So while they were at this lover's lane, Sharon apparently had seen something when they were in the car, just off in the distance on the grass or whatever was in front of them. And so she apparently had gotten the gentleman that she was with to go investigate it because she didn't want to do that, but she felt that the big strong man beside her would be able to go check out what that unknown thing in the grass in front of them was. Lo and behold, this gentleman, I found Patricia's body. She
Oh.
had been shot 4 times
Oh.
and was not alive on the scene. Kind of makes sense if you were shot 4 times. But yes, she was dead. He found it. He starts kind of freaking out.
Understandably.
Understandably, like you're at a lover's lane expecting one thing, and that one thing is most definitely not finding a dead body. So like, yeah, that makes sense that you're kind of shaken up about it. So he goes back to he goes back to Sharon, telling him what he's seeing. I believe she had said, "Oh, that's my that's my friend's wife." She kind of identified her on the spot there, or said that was the dress that my friend's wife was wearing. There was just at least some recognition that she knew who that person was or who that body was. But Sharon then told him not to tell the police that she was there with him. I don't know if it was like, you can tell the police what you found, but just don't say I was with you. I'm not 100% sure on that, but what was shared was you can't tell them I was here, essentially.
That's not suspicious at
Right?
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he didn't listen to this. He told
Good
them right
man.
away, anyways, let them know, dropped her name, told them like where to find the body and the circumstances surrounding it. And so a month later, in June of 1960, Sharon was then charged with Patricia's murder. They were able to link enough to her, I guess just the circumstances surrounding it. And when they heard of Patricia's death, the investigators, that kind of set light bulbs off, because they're like, okay, well, her husband also just recently died 3 months ago, 2 months ago by shooting as well. This is kind of suspicious. So she ended up being charged. And given her proximity to the 2 deaths only months apart, law enforcement then kind of reinvestigated her late husband's murder or death. And it was ultimately decided that she was at fault for that. And so she was indicted by a grand jury for his murder as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So in January of 1961, before going to trial for the murders of Walter Jones, his wife Patricia, Sharon did give birth to Walter Jones's baby. So
Oh.
she was not lying when she
Oh.
told Walter that she was pregnant with his child. You should leave your wife, who's also pregnant with your child, for me because I also have your child. So this, to me personally, very much seems like I'm getting rid of my competition. I don't want you to
Mhm.
have a child with
Yeah.
someone else. Start a family with me, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's hilarious to me that she was shocked that he wouldn't leave his pregnant wife for her. I was like, he's
Right?
obviously not an upstanding man. He's cheating on his pregnant wife with you.
Yeah.
So what do you expect he's going to do when you tell him you're pregnant? Like, it's not going to be, I'm going to leave my wife and marry you and do the right thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
from my understanding, they had only met not long before.
Wild.
Maybe months before. Like from my understanding, it was when she was buying her car after her husband's death with the settlement money. That's when they met and they started their like affair. So from my
Oh.
understanding and from like, there's not a lot available and a lot of the sources kind of say the same thing, but the timeline of it sounded like it was like they met when she bought the car, and then that was May, I want to say, or like April, and then she was dead end of May, mid-May. And she was then Sharon was charged in June of that year.
Oh
So it
man,
wasn't
that's
like they
quick.
had been together for like a year and kind of
Mhm.
having an affair on the side. It just
Yeah.
felt like a very quick thing to have happened. And so
Wow.
rightfully so, this guy's not going to drop his whole life. He probably just thinks it's a
Yeah.
fling of some sort.
Well, is it even like, do we know that that baby was his? Or
No.
could it have been her? Like, it sounds like she's had many lovers
So
in
that's
these
the thing.
months.
that's the thing, because two other men testified at her trial saying that they also previously had affairs with Sharon.
Oh my
So,
God.
like, who's to even really say whether the baby is Walter's? You know? And
Yeah.
like, I don't know the
Yeah.
timeline of those affairs, but my assumption is she kind of just did her thing after the husband's death, maybe met a couple people in between. Who's to say maybe beforehand as well? But at least three men had affairs. Well, two had affairs. No, I guess three. I'm just trying to think of it from the perspective of hers. If she's married, is it still an affair if she's married or not? But three people were having sex with her, and they all had relationships with other people.
Wow.
Damn.
That's crazy.
To put it bluntly.
Okay.
So yeah, to answer your question, we don't know if that child was Walter's.
Right.
And I don't think any like testing was ever done. I don't think they really cared at the time.
Yeah.
Fair.
But shockingly, so she had the child in January of 1961. In June of 1961, this was kind of the end of her trial, and an all-male jury acquitted Sharon for Patricia's death. And
What?
it is said that she, like, when they were giving the verdict, the courtroom burst out in applause.
She
So
didn't seem like an upstanding citizen. Why are they rooting for her?
right? So it just seems like she's quite the actress, and she
Yeah.
knows what to say, and she knows how to play men, I will say.
Her sex appeal has to be off the charts. Like, she has to be a bombshell to
Right?
murder two people and to get acquitted and applauded in the courtroom.
Mhm.
Wow.
And like, she wasn't a terrible looking lady. Like, she was
That's high standards.
yeah, but like, I mean, you never know with men, but like, I think it must have just been her demeanor and how she presented herself and how she was able to just like convince everyone that listened to her. And then yeah, like you said, Journey, like the sex appeal must have been something else.
Yeah, or she had to be like sleeping with the jury. Like, that's crazy.
Right? An all-male jury acquitted her. So
They all
All
thought they had a
right.
chance.
Literally.
they're like, we can't put her in a jail. We'll just take her rounds with her.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, she's been acquitted. She is not she's not found guilty for Patricia's death, excuse me. And in January of 1962, she is then convicted of killing her husband, James Kinney. But she was sentenced to life in prison this time around.
Okay.
But that being said, don't get too excited, because her conviction was later overturned by the Missouri Supreme Court due to an improper jury selection, supposedly.
Oh.
Okay.
Why wasn't the first one improper? Like, there's
Yeah.
no reason it should be an all-men jury. Were women
Right.
allowed to be
Probably
on juries
not.
at that time? Yeah,
I'm
'cause that
gonna say
just
probably
went through my
not.
head.
Probably not. They weren't allowed to have their own bank accounts or credit cards for another 15 years.
Mhm.
True. Okay, yeah, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if we just weren't allowed in the courtrooms at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
If
much
not,
not
just
a jury of
taking
your
note.
peers.
Notes. Yeah. So yeah, her conviction was overturned. While awaiting the appeal, Sharon is said to have spent 18 months behind bars where she had female lovers, apparently. So she wasn't one to choose. She just did what she wanted to do. And it's said that one of her lovers, who was also a cellmate of hers, claimed that Sharon had confessed to both murders, both Patricia and her husband James, and that she had even provided the prosecution with letters that Sharon supposedly wrote to her about all of this. I don't know the validity of this. I don't know if Sharon's actually writing these letters. It's just something that's been brought up to say that this was brought forward, but nothing really came of it.
Right.
And so the first retrial was in March of 1964. This ended in a mistrial. And then the second retrial, a few months later, ended with a hung jury because they just couldn't agree on a verdict as to
Oh
whether
my
she killed
God.
her husband or not.
She has
Wow.
incredible luck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if she's paying someone off. I don't know if she's sucking someone off. But like, something is happening and
Something's
she's
happening.
getting away with it.
That's crazy.
She was ultimately released on a $25,000 bond pending a retrial for a first-degree murder charge. No stipulations about travel. And so a few months later, she fled to Mexico in September of 1964 with a new boyfriend. And she then went by the name of Jeanette Pugliese, I want to say, or Pugliese. So she took on a new name. She already had a new boyfriend, and she's now in Mexico with a $25,000 bond. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So enforcement today would say this would never happen.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you just would never see that. So kind of says a lot. But
Yep.
so she's currently in Mexico. Well, she was at the time in Mexico at this point in the story. And not long after arriving in Mexico City, though, she is said to have picked up Francisco Ordonez in a bar and brought him back to a motel with her. Around 3 a.m. on the evening she brought him back, apparently gunshots were heard in the area, and Francisco was found dead, laying on the motel floor, and a night clerk was also wounded.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sharon was captured by police. She happened to have the gun in her hand, so it was
Damn.
kind of an easy puzzle for that one. She did claim self-defense, but after searching her belongings, they did find a 22 caliber pistol in there as well. So ballistics testing was then conducted on the pistol that was found in her bag, and it was actually found to be the same gun used to kill Patricia Jones back in 1960 as well.
How
Why
did
wouldn't
they
you
not
get rid of the
catch
gun?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Like, yeah.
All
like you said,
excellent
Rebecca,
questions.
catching it the first time around. Like, do you have a gun in your possession? Great, we'll do ballistics testing. But also, like, if you've killed 2 people with this gun, like, get rid of it.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Also, what happened to the boyfriend she went to Mexico City with?
He just kind of falls off the radar. I don't
Okay.
really know.
So probably
Okay.
dead.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
I really wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. It kind of like that's all you really hear of him from the research that I did or from the sources that I read.
Right.
There is apparently a book about her story that I didn't have the time to read, and maybe a movie. Oh, there's an Unsolved Mysteries episode I did watch about it.
Oh. It also
But,
looks like
like-
there's a Crime to Remember show that has an episode on her. It's like a documentary season TV
Oh, cool.
series called
Interesting.
Luck Be a Lady,
Luck, yes.
Oh.
which she's very lucky.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with this, though, is because she was already found not guilty for Patricia's murder, they couldn't retry her for it. Even though they had the gun and they could confirm that it was the cause, they couldn't go back and retry everything.
Right.
For some reason, I always thought that if they had new evidence that wasn't used before, that they could, but I guess maybe they just didn't think they had a strong enough case with that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my only other thought would be that could have changed since then. Like it could have been, that could be a newer legislation put in place.
True.
But yeah.
I didn't really think about that.
So she ended up being convicted in 1965 and was sentenced to 13 years to spend in a prison in Mexico. After just about 5 years, though, she somehow managed to escape from the woman's prison. In December of 1969, she was just gone. We didn't know where she was. In the wind. Sharon Kinne is just, who knows? Not in the prison, though. That's for sure. So,
if she wasn't such a terrible person, she's kind of badass,
right? Like she's almost too smart, or like she's doing something right, but in all of the wrong ways. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
yeah, like when she was imprisoned in Mexico, though, she apparently did give a whole bunch of interviews. It seemed like she really liked being in the spotlight of everything and like talking to journalists. She was also known as La Pistolera, and this is also known as the gunslinger translated. So,
Crazy.
like, I guess folks knew in jail what she had done and what she was capable of. So she had a little nickname, and apparently a reporter for the Star, this is a Kansas City news source, he said to have been the last one to have interviewed Sharon on March 20th of 1969. So almost like the beginning of the year prior to when she escaped, because she escaped in December of 1969. And in that interview, she had told him that the guards were a little bit afraid of her, apparently, and afraid of all of the women convicted of murder in that jail. And she said that this pretty much let her do just about anything she wanted to in prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Ar-
kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think she kind of just had everyone wrapped around her finger wherever she went.
hmm
In terms of her disappearance or her escape and where she kind of ended up afterwards, there were some theories, and these included someone helping her escape. And people thought that maybe it was Francisco's family, but it was not to help her escape and be free because typically the victim's family doesn't want that. So
Yeah.
it was believed that they took her to the desert and just killed her.
Oh.
It was also believed that she fled to Guatemala or another Latin American country, or I guess she had relatives living in Alaska. So it was also theorized that she could have fled there as well. So no one knew where she was
Wow.
upon her escape, essentially.
That's it's crazy that people can just disappear like that.
Right?
Like just vanish into thin air.
Yeah,
I
it doesn't
agree.
make sense to me.
I
I feel
agree.
like sorry, I was gonna say I feel like it also is like way harder to do today.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
No, even just like the process of changing your name, I feel like is so difficult because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, you commit the crime and then you just go and you change your name.
Yeah.
It's like, but then there's a record of you
Yeah.
changing your name. And so then they look at
Yeah.
your name and like, oh, it was so and so in 2016. Like, that's not,
Unless you have a guy, like
I
it's not
guess.
it's not really working in your favor. And
Yeah.
even still, to find a guy is gonna be tough.
Yeah. You gotta go down some dark alleys.
Yeah. Yes. So interestingly enough, though, Sharon was on the longest outstanding arrest warrant for murder in Jackson County history and one of the longest outstanding felony warrants in American history.
That's
Which,
super
Wow.
cool. I'm
right?
so surprised I've never heard of her given like that
That title?
information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And so no one knew where she was up until December of 2023. And
So her
this,
warrant was from 1969 to 2023.
yeah,
Oh my god.
Holy.
yeah. And oh, it may have been, no, I guess because she was, no, because it would have been for James's murder. So James's was in
Oh.
1960. Yeah, 1960 to 2023. There
That's
was,
crazy.
yeah. And so in December of 2023, law enforcement received an anonymous tip.
Hmm.
So I think it was in the States they received a tip, and then that kind of trickled into Canadian police because there was within that tip saying that she was living in Canada. It was found that Sharon was living under the name Deidre or D. Glabis in Tabor, Alberta. So Sharon, who was going by Dee at this time, was posthumously identified through fingerprints, surprisingly, obtained from the funeral home that handled her remains to those taken at the time of the killings, along with forensic genealogy searches. DNA testing, unfortunately, wasn't able to be done, but it sounded like Canadian practice is to fingerprint deceased individuals that come through funeral homes. I will confirm this because my brother's girlfriend is actually a mortician and she may be able to provide insight into this. But at least at this funeral home, the fingerprints were taken.
Weird. Yeah,
Um,
I never
didn't
heard of
know.
that.
right? And I guess it's not a thing or as common in the States because that was one of the main things that the police in the States had requested from Canada because of that information available to them.
Oh, interesting.
Hey, it's Editor Journey. Just wanted to mention that we did reach out to Nicole's brother's girlfriend, Tia, and she said that it differs from funeral home to funeral home. At her old job, they digitally fingerprinted everyone, whether the family wanted to use the prints or not. But at her current job, they offer it to the families and they choose whether or not they want the deceased loved one to be fingerprinted. She also mentioned that at her current job, they are all ink printed fingerprints and they keep them in the file for pretty much ever. That way the family can come back in like 10 years to do something with them if they want to. But at her old job, it was mandatory to do it all digital, and those got kept on a cloud forever, even if the family didn't want the prints. So that's pretty cool. Awesome that we were able to reach out to her and ask that question. It's super cool. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, so she was able to be identified as, well, I guess Dee was identified as Sharon, and they were able to kind of close their case at this point.
If they couldn't DNA test her, how did they like forensic genealogy search her? Because don't you need DNA to, unless, I guess maybe if she's got family who've done 23andMe and then.
Yeah, like she had multiple kids. So I
Right.
think we kind of find out that her kids had come forward and were like speaking with press and stuff like that too. So like I wouldn't be surprised if they offered DNA. I don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fair.
It didn't describe that. It didn't go in depth.
Yeah. I kind of forgot she had kids. So when she went to Mexico, did she bring her kids?
Nope, she said, see ya.
So then when she went to Canada, did she bring her kids
She
or
said,
did she just.
see ya.
So they must have just
Oh
been
my
adopted
God.
out.
From my
hope.
understanding,
Yeah.
it was just
Okay. Well,
good
because I
luck.
feel like she would have gotten caught had she gone back for her kids.
Yeah. And from what I gather with who I've kind of learned her to be, I don't think she really cared.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she
That's fair.
seems like someone who does better off by herself.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would want kids in that mix.
That's fair. But she had kids after.
Yep.
Did
So,
she stop killing when she moved to Tabor?
big question mark on
Ooh.
that. Big question mark. Nothing's been confirmed. No deaths have been like linked to her, but there was a quote by one of the like original investigators or someone that worked on her case in the States. And it like when they were kind of theorizing what happened after her escape, he
Mhm.
kind of said something along the lines of, she's not the type of person to just stop. Like,
Yeah.
you know? So
Good.
those are the only 3 linked to her that she's been either convicted of or charged with. But they also don't know really anything. Well, I guess we kind of learn more after, but like crime-wise, nothing's been attached to her.
Yeah.
But that being said, kind of gets me into my next points.
Okay.
It turns out that Sharon had married Jim Glabis in Los Angeles, California in 1970. She escaped, for mind you, Mexico in December of 1969. So we are now in 1970, and she marries Jim Glabis.
She moves so fast.
She is quick. She is quick. She then goes by Deidre or Dee Glabis, and the two of them then moved to Tabor, Alberta in 1973. They are said to have owned 2 motels and that they launched a real estate agency together. That being said, Jim died in 1979 at the age of 38, and Dee was supposedly left out of his will, something that she fought in court.
Oh.
According to the newspapers at the time, Jim is said to have died in his home from complications of diabetes and alcoholism after being refused admittance twice to the Tabor General Hospital in the previous 2 days.
So then is that not the hospital's fault? Like if he can't be admitted?
Technically, yes. Like, from what I read of the newspaper newspaper articles, it seemed like they only had a certain amount of beds available in the men's and the women's wards. And the day that it was a weekend, and apparently they get more men on weekends because of drunk driving.
Dang.
Men are stupid.
So
Yeah, not
they were
shocking.
kind of keeping beds open, but they already had men in the women, like housing men in the women's ward. So it just seemed like
Oh, wow.
it was a very tight space, and it sounded like he had been to the hospital previously, like he's had complications in the past. So I think
Yeah.
they were just kind of like, go home and do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the cause of his death was determined to be asphyxiation from inhalation of gastric juices as a
Ugh.
result of being in a diabetic coma.
That sounds
Um,
painful.
yeah, so he
Ugh.
did have a history of hospital admittance. I still think it's a bit fishy. It doesn't follow her MO of being shot, but I also think she would maybe have learned something of, I've got 3 gun murders on my hands.
Yeah.
Maybe let's not try that next.
And I feel like
Yeah.
for a serial killer, it's pretty easy to kill a diabetic.
Yeah.
If he's
Like,
gonna, yeah,
you get him in a diabetic coma and you just count the minutes. Like,
lay him back a little bit so he chokes on his puke, kind of.
yeah.
But yes, so husband number 2, boyfriend number question mark, died at this point. A few years after Jim's death, Dee married another man named Willie L., I believe it was, in March of 1982. So Jim died, I want to say in 79, was it? Yeah, in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
3 years later, she's now married to another gentleman. The two of them were together for 30 years, but Willie did die in 2011 at the age of 79. I couldn't really find much more about his death in terms of like newspaper clippings or cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was just age or like natural causes.
Yeah.
But Deidre Glabis was, quote, known as a devoted wife, mother, and successful realtor. And she ended up passing away at the age of 81 in 2022 due to natural causes.
Hmm.
However, with that sentence and kind of statement about her life, after her death, her family did release a statement. Once we come to find out, that tip was given in 2023 then. So someone waited until she died to share this
Mm-hmm.
information because it was December of 2023 that we learned more.
Do you think it was like in her will? Like,
No,
no.
I don't know.
Because
I
that'd be
think
kind
it
of
was
like,
someone she probably told, like maybe by accident, or someone knew something
right.
but was scared of what would happen, and they waited until she died for them to
Yeah.
come out with it. But once the connection was made that Deidre, the apparently devoted wife and mother, was actually the 3-time killer Sharon Kinne, her family released a statement stating, quote, "We are relieved this chapter in our family history can be closed. Sharon never faced the consequences of her actions, leaving her children to deal with the aftermath. She caused great harm without remorse. We hope this closure allows us to heal from her traumatic legacy," end quote.
Wow.
It just sounds like all around she wasn't an amazing human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I didn't personally know her. This is just off of what I'm reading. And I'm going to speculate a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all pending charges were dropped after her death, and so the case is now considered closed. That being said, though, authorities are still seeking any information pertaining to her life, especially including her time in like Missouri, Mexico, or Canada. But it was like 1970 to 79 was kind of the main time frame they were looking for. Um, and that time when she managed to make it into Canada with her second husband,
Right.
when her and Jim made it over. But yeah,
That's
that is Sharon or Dee, living in Canada for over 30 years. some of the articles I was seeing was all about like folks in the nursing homes in the area being, oh, like we all played bridge together. You would never expect it from Dee. You know, she was great at cross stitch and all of these things, which it seemed like it took everyone a bit by surprise. So maybe she turned a leaf and like she became a better, more decent human. But
And was an incredible liar.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think she was just a great con woman.
That's
Interesting.
wild. I really want to know, like, them buying those hotels or motels. Like, that's the perfect setup for a serial killer.
Yeah.
Very
I
Norman
just,
Batesy, Bates Motel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Very much.
I have so many questions. Like, being a realtor, I don't know if I've just watched too many, like, realtor scary movies or, like, read too many books, but I feel like it would be easy as a realtor to kill. Like, I don't know. It'd be
No,
wild if
I
you
feel
did just
that. I
stop.
think
You have access
it's
to so many homes and so many people, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, and it'd definitely be a good way to scope out a bunch of areas because, like, it's their job to like look into homes and what
yeah.
someone might like about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the
Crazy.
family's moving, so who knows if they go missing?
Yeah.
That's wild. Or maybe she met Willie and just fell in love and it just
Yeah.
changed her, like he was the man for her and tamed her crazy ways.
She's like,
Right?
I don't want to kill this one.
Yeah.
I
This guy
like this
doesn't
one.
piss me off. Yeah.
Other husbands are just like sitting in heaven, like,
Yeah.
what the heck, man?
Yeah. But yeah, that's
Oh,
Sharon Kinney.
Wow.
okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I've been seeing her name on our topic list for a while now, and I was like, that's exciting. Like I feel like we all are pretty knowledgeable about at least names in the true crime sphere. But I didn't even like this name didn't even ever come across my radar. So that's
Mhm.
fascinating. And she was like a I assume like a Black Widow killer is kind of how she'd be classified.
Mhm.
Um that's super cool. She had a really wild story, and I appreciate you leading us through it. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Journey has a forensic corner for us, I see. So would you like to tell us a little more about your little mystery fun news story?
Yeah. So I had found this one for an episode we'd done a while ago and I didn't end up using it. And so I didn't write down this what this acronym means, but CRISPR, CRISPR, uncovers gene that supercharges vitamin D and stops tumors in their tracks was the title of the article. And so a gene called SDR42E1 has been identified as a key player in how our bodies absorb and process vitamin D. And researchers found that disabling this gene in colorectal cancer cells not only crippled their survival, but also disrupted thousands of other genes tied to cancer and metabolism.
Hmm.
Oh,
So, this
wow.
kind of, yeah, very weird. It opened the door to highly targeted cancer therapies by either cutting off vitamin D supply to tumors or enhancing the gene's activity to boost health. So, by disabling this gene, they were able to kind of stop the tumor from growing, which is kind of cool.
Also,
The researchers.
CRISPR
Mhm.
CRISPR stands for clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. So it's
Oh.
gene editing technology,
Okay. Thank you.
I believe, from a
Yep.
quick search.
Yep,
I'll
that
go
sounds
with it
right.
though. Okay.
So, these researchers used CRISPR or the CAS9 gene editing to transform the active form of SDR42E1 in a line of cells from a patient with colorectal cancer called HCT116 into its inactive form. So, in HCT116 cells, the expression of this gene is usually abundant, suggesting that the protein is essential for their survival. So they need this gene to survive. Once the faulty gene copy has been introduced, the viability of the cancer cells plummeted by 53%,
Wow.
which is
That's
wild.
crazy.
No fewer than 4,663 downstream genes change their expression levels, suggesting that this gene is a crucial molecular switch in many reactions necessary for the health of cells. So, like, it basically stopped the tumor from growing and
Yeah.
affecting any other cells.
Wow.
Um, Many of the genes normally involved in cancer related cell signaling and the absorption and metabolism of cholesterol like molecules consistent with the central role of this SDR gene were the ones that were stopped by the killing,
gene
I guess.
editing.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so these results suggest that inhibiting the gene can selectively kill cancer cells, leaving the neighboring cells unharmed, which is...
That's huge to be able
That's
to target
incredible.
cancer cells.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't remember if it's specifically for just colorectal cancer or if there's other types of cancers. But they said that because this SDR gene is involved in vitamin D metabolism, they can target it in any of the many diseases where vitamin D plays a regulatory role.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. So they said that in nutrition studies have indicated that the hormone can lower the risk of cancer, kidney disease, and autoimmune and metabolic disorders. But there needs to be more testing done because we don't really know any long-term effects. And it could just be lucky. But yeah, there's potential that
That's huge.
through gene editing, you can kind of target cancer cells from...
That is so cool.
Crazy.
Like, as long as I can remember, cancer, like, fundraisers and research and all that has always been at, like, the forefront. Like, I remember doing, like, the Terry Fox run that we had to do every year in school was specifically for cancer research. So to see that we're actually, like, making strides towards new discoveries is so cool.
So cool. It was also interesting to see how large of a role vitamin D played in cancer.
Yeah,
and like many
that's
different types
surprising.
of diseases. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, interesting.
I guess
It's
outside
interesting
of, like,
as well
skin
how the
cancer.
sun,
Yeah.
this, like, we get vitamin D from the sun, and, like, too much sun exposure because the UVs can also cause cancer. So that's a lot to think about.
And like you need vitamin D for so many things, but I guess you can't have too much of it or you get cancer. Like, it's so weird, the perfect equilibrium that you kind of have to be at with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, human body, or just animals and species, just living organisms in general. I keep getting more broad, but like,
Alien
just
bodies
life.
are crazy.
Life, yeah, insane. Well, thank you for that. That's like a feel-good science research article. That's
Yeah. So
fascinating.
hopefully it goes good places.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll have to keep up with that. So thank you both for your information today. I have definitely learned a lot, and I hope our listeners also have learned a lot. With that said, if you tune into our next episode, we are going to be covering the very famous case of John Benet Ramsey. I recently watched the new Netflix docuseries, or like somewhat new, that came out on it. So I'm really excited to get to do our own research and dig into this because it's another case with so many theories.
Yeah. It's one that I'm kind of shocked we haven't covered already.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel the same. So if you liked this episode and you want to find more stuff about us and our podcast, or just keep up to date with the podcast, you guys can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, all at What the Forensics. Journey does a great job posting clips and kind of reels and TikToks about some of our episodes, so definitely look out for those. We also have a website. It's whattheforensics.ca. We call it your one-stop shop for everything forensics. That's where you'll find our sources. If we spoke about any images, you'll find them there. And it's just, you can also contact us there. It's our website. Check it out. We would be happy if you did. And then finally, our email, if you wanted to get in contact with us that way, is whattheforensics@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners. We've been hearing from a couple more recently, which is so fun. We love when people reach out and recommend topics. Even if you don't have a topic to recommend and you just want to say hi, we love that too. It's super cool. So, with that all being said, this has been another episode of What the Forensics. We really hope you learned something new, and we're excited to see you next time. Bye!
Just a reminder to everyone that we are not professionals in the forensic science field. We are just interested in forensics and want to share what we are learning with our listeners. We're trying to give you the most accurate information, but we are human and can make mistakes. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you next week.